Classroom of the Elite Year 2 Volume 8 has finally been released. Coming off of what many considered one of the best volumes in Year 2, in Volume 7 many were not expecting an action-filled volume, and they were right. Volume 8 revolves around a school trip in the mountains consisting of only second-year students. Which means no Nagumo and no first-year students for the most part. The focus in this volume was Kushida, Ryuan and Kyo until the last chapter, but we will get to that eventually. Seeing as the three were put in a group together, that could only mean chaos. Funnily enough, it was a more chill group than I thought it would be. That was because Kushida's character has really turned around into being more productive and loyal to the class. With the reason for her not being expelled being she was extremely social and could easily make allies, it was no wonder her ugly side barely showed at all here. But there was a more juicy reason for why Kushida was not acting up like the thought that she is. And that would be because of Kyo. See, in this volume, ladies and gentlemen, Kushida falls in love with Kyo. Or at least it is heavily implied. Now I know a lot of people hated this development, but I personally feel it is a non-issue. I don't see Kushida's screen time being eaten up just to be the girl that likes Kyo. Also, saying that it ruins her character does not make sense, because we know she is changing and her reasons for potentially liking him actually make sense. I can understand some people saying Classroom of the Elite is turning too much into a harem, and usually I would agree, but I feel it is different here in this story. That is because Kyo does not give a donkey's ass about the harem like that. Outside of two girls anyway, but we will get into that. Now I know some people in the community were complaining and moaning that Classroom of the Elite is no longer the psychological and mind games series that it once was, just because a little romance is explored here and there. A complaint that does not make sense, because Volume 7 was almost entirely about mind games, but I get it. Some people simply have the memory of a goldfish. Not much you can do there. In terms of what this volume sets up, Ryuan vs Arisu is slowly escalating, so that is something to look forward to. Arisu seems to be trying to toolzone yet another victim, while Ryuan might be trying to seduce Class A girls, although that one was not entirely clear. Point is, the final exam is shaking up to be a hell of a battle. A pretty unpredictable one, might I add. This volume also reveals Kanzaki having history with Kyo's father. Not much detail is shown, but still an interesting development which only fuels the theory of Kyo switching to Honami's class in the future. A first-year student called Ishigami has finally revealed himself, who looks to be a genius. Not a genius from the White Room, but he still looks to be a potential threat in the future. What exactly he brings to the table is anyone's guess. But seeing as he is a character that has been built up for the entirety of Year 2, expectations are high. Finally, we arrive at my favorite chapter in Volume 8. The final chapter. This chapter is entirely about Hanami and Kyo. Hanami is having a mental breakdown and is hanging out in the snowy cold when Kyo approaches her. Hanami confesses to wanting to finally change in order for the class to succeed and for her to regain the life in her soul. Seeing the state that Hanami is in, Kyo comforts her, saying he will help her if she asks. He even goes as far as to hug her and wipe her tears. Hugging someone is one thing, but wiping their tears is a pretty intimate move. Of course, we all know Kyo is going out with Kei, but as you read Volume 8 you will realize something. Not only is Kei's screen time very minimal, but the way she is depicted here, it almost makes it seem like Kyo is already tired of the relationship. Many people have theorized that a breakup is coming soon, and to be brutally honest, I cannot argue against it. Especially not after this volume. Going back to Hanami, many Kei fans did not like the final chapter because Kyo's actions were inappropriate. You also have many people saying how this moment was not romantic at all, and it is just Kyo being edgy. As for me, my theory is that Kyo does care for Hanami, but of course him being from the White Room does not allow him to show that appropriately. I can make an entire video out of this, but for now I will say this. The final chapter is a bit of both worlds. Kyo has plans for Hanami, but he genuinely also wants her to change for the better. To end it all, the very last line of the volume stating they both learned of each other's warmth. It leaves no room for interpretation in my opinion. It is pretty straightforward. Could this mean a true development in their relationship? Will K be tossed to the side like a used condom? Will the harem wars grow even bloodier? We will have to wait and see. All in all, this volume was shorter than I expected, but content-wise it was satisfying. Especially if you are a Hanami fan. It was not my favorite Year 2 volume, but it was still a strong one. If I had to give this volume a rating, I would give it an 8.8 out of 10. Once again, we are all caught up with the light novel and we will have to wait for a new release. Classroom of the Elite is going in an interesting direction and I could not be more excited. If you enjoyed my review, please like and subscribe for more.